Welcome to the Chasing Spirituality podcast. I'm your host, Megan, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Each episode is full of heartfelt and expansive content that will really help you expand your consciousness and grow as a person. I created this podcast because I wanted to share my own personal experiences on my spiritual journey, but I also wanted to meet others and have them share what they've been through and how they've gotten to where they are today. If you haven't done so already, it would really mean a lot to me if you could rate and review the podcast. This really helps the podcast grow and reach more people, but it also allows me to get more guests on the show. Now on to today's topic. Welcome back, everyone. This is Megan. I am your host. If you are new here, hello, welcome. And if you are a frequent listener, welcome back. I am so excited that you are all here. And it is getting close to the end of the year. Things are wrapping up. It's the holiday season. It's my birthday. Yes, I am a Sagittarius and it is my birthday season. So whoop whoop. Yes, I'm so excited. Make sure if you follow me on Instagram, you check out some of those hilarious Sagittarius memes that I shared. I made some of them and then I pulled a few of my favorites from other people that I found on Instagram, but they are hilarious and they are so accurate. And I can say this because I'm a Sagittarius, so I can totally relate. My son is also a Sagittarius and my mom was a Sagittarius. So yeah, I can definitely judge the Sagittarius. And I love them. So if you're a Sagittarius, happy birthday. Welcome to Sagittarius season. And let's just jump right into today's episode. I really wasn't planning to record today, but I was browsing around on Reddit like I normally do from time to time. And I am in a few forums for like mediumship and stuff like that. And I saw two questions that were similar but different in the same way. And some of the comments kind of like triggered me a little bit and got me kind of wanting to create this episode. So, what we're going to be talking about today is mediumship and the fact that you are a medium. Not everyone in the spiritual community, in the psychic world, not every medium agrees with this. And if you go onto Reddit and you read some of these kind of posts asking, could I be a medium? Or does my mom have to be a medium for me to be a medium? Or because I had a premonition, does that mean that I'm a medium? And just the questions that often come up. I'm sure you guys, yourself have had situations where you're like, oh my gosh, I predicted that this happened. Does that mean that I'm psychic? Or does that mean that I can connect to spirit? And depending on who you ask, you're going to get told, yes, you are a medium, or no, you're not a medium. So for my listeners, I want to make sure that I give you my opinion on this because I feel like there are a lot of people out there that are gatekeeping or they are spreading what I believe is false information. So I will say with 100% certainty, based on my experience and based on what my spirit team and my spirit guides and my higher self has told me, is that yes, you are a medium. And I don't have to know you to know this because everyone is a medium. Everyone has the ability of mediumship. And if you've listened to some of my other episodes, then you've probably heard me say this before. If I haven't said this before, then I'm really sorry because that's something that, I definitely believe in and is something that I'm very passionate about. I comment this kind of stuff on Reddit posts all the time because I see these types of questions. And when I read through the comments, I don't see, a lot of people that are supportive of this. Not that there's a lot of people that aren't, but it's more just like, well, you could be, or you should practice and find out. And then there are some people that just say straight up no. But there's never just a yes, absolutely, 100%, you are a medium. And like I said, from my my experience and from my beliefs and from my standpoint and what I've been shown and told and taught, yeah, you are a medium. And just because you're a medium doesn't mean that you're a good one. It does take practice. But do you have the ability to communicate with spirit? Do you have the ability to communicate with ghosts and spirits and your spirit guides and your spirit team? Yes, 100%, absolutely. And my main reason for believing this, and this is what I tell people whenever they ask me this question or whenever I see this question online, is you are a spirit. You are spirit. You are spirit having a human experience. And since you are spirit, wouldn't it only be natural that you can communicate with spirit? Because that's who you are. That's part of you. That's your soul. Just like you have a way to communicate with humans, you have a way to communicate with spirit as well. Now, this doesn't mean that every single person, because they are a medium, chooses to use this ability. Just because you have the ability to communicate with spirit doesn't mean that you have to use it. And this is where choice comes in. If you decide that you don't want any part of mediumship, if you decide that you don't want to use the abilities, the natural gifts that you have to communicate with spirit, whether it's professionally or just personally, that's okay. You always have a choice and you always have free will, but that doesn't mean that the gifts aren't there. And a lot of people say, well, then how come I've never had experiences? Or why can I not see things the same way that a medium sees them? Or, why can I communicate with ghosts or whatever it is? And it's because throughout life, based on what you've been told, what you've been taught, what you've been shown, you have created limiting beliefs. So this is part of the reason why you may feel like you can't communicate with spirit. It's just a limiting belief. We come into this world with the complete knowledge of our human selves as well as our spirit selves. But over time, that starts to dwindle and that starts to fade. And if you have a lot of vivid memories from childhood, then you should probably remember some of these memories. They may be pretty vague and they may not be, super descriptive, but you might be able to remember a time where you did see a ghost, or you did see a light in the corner of your room, or you did hear a voice inside your head that told you something that happened later. There's so many different things. And I'll give you an example that came back to me when I started doing this work. Was as a child, I would actually pray to dead loved ones. I wouldn't just, close my eyes and pray to God or to the angels. I would pray to all of them. I would pray to Source. I would pray to the trees. I would pray to the earth. But I would also pray to my loved ones that had passed away. My dad passed away when I was really young. So I would talk to him. I would tell him about my life. I would tell him about any news, how my mom was doing. I would just talk to him like he was right there. And I would have this conversation inside of my head. And that is exactly what mediumship is. It's different for every medium, but for the most part, that's exactly what mediumship is you're having this conversation that's mostly going on internally. So, that memory didn't really come back to me, until a few years ago. And that happens as well as the more I get into my spiritual development and the more that I grow, the more memories from my childhood come back. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe that I forgot that. I can't believe that I forgot that I had all of these imaginary friends that I would talk to on a regular basis, and realize that they're actually spirit guides, because that happened to me as well. So, think back to your childhood and see if you can remember any spiritual experiences that you had that you forgot about, or maybe you do remember them, but you just dismissed them as a vivid imagination, because spiritual work is using your imagination. Don't discredit imagination. Imagination is very, very powerful. And it's definitely something that is used by psychics and mediums alike. So that's one of the reasons why you may be having a hard time, is basically from whatever kind of upbringing you had. You may have been told that speaking to spirits is evil, or it's demonic, or it's wrong, or that you're not really doing it, that you're making it up, that it's all in your head. And hearing that from people that you trust, people that you love, people that you feel like as a child they know better than you start to agree with them and you start to believe these things. Hence, that's why it creates a limiting belief. And it can look different than that. It doesn't have to be, the religious, where you're being shamed or you're being, shunned for it. It could also be that you had a scary experience. I know I blocked several of my gifts because of scary experiences. And I didn't have anyone to, show me and teach me what it was like to actually be a medium and to set boundaries with spirit. And I've talked about this in episodes before, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but you may have had an experience as a child that scared you. And if it did, then you may have put a block up around your abilities or around particular gifts. I still have walls up around my sight. I know that I do. And I'll work on it, and I, try to work with spirit on strengthening that. But I will say, like, clairvoyance is one of my gifts that needs work. I feel way more than I see. I hear way more than I see. So it could be that you have some blockages that you've put up based on things that you experienced as a child or experienced throughout life, or also based on things that you were told and taught. Another thing that could prevent you from not really tapping into these abilities is that you just didn't really have any interest. It's possible that you just weren't interested in mediumship or connecting with ghosts or connecting with spirits until a certain point in your life. It's also possible that you were not ready energetically to receive spirit. When I do mediumship and when I teach about mediumship and I do practice circles, I talk about raising our vibration, because we have to raise our vibration and then the spirit will lower theirs so that we can meet in the middle. And this is why it's called mediumship, because we're meeting in the middle. So if you did not have a high vibration until here recently, or, you just vibrated lower for whatever reason, you may not have been able to receive in the spirit's energy. Another thing is soul contracts. So you may have had some soul contracts, whether it's for this particular lifetime and it's like lessons that you need to learn and things that you need to experience, or it could even be limiting beliefs and baggages from past lifetimes. But you may have certain things in that aspect that prevented you from using certain abilities or using certain gifts or using certain clairs or communicating with spirit to a certain degree. Now, my personal belief is that with intention and with will, you can do anything. So even if you do have certain soul contracts that have prevented you from having a deep connection to spirit or being able to develop mediumship, I do believe that with work, you can move past those, because normally when it comes to things like that, there's some kind of lesson that needs to be learned. So as long as you're willing to be open and you're willing to learn the lesson, I don't see why anyone could not maintain that connection with spirit. Again, because it's your natural ability. It's your natural state. A lot of people think that they can't connect to spirit, but I like to tell them, like, it's natural for you. That's what your intuition is. That's what your clairs are. Your clairs and your intuition, they are your spiritual language. It's how you communicate with the spirit world. And a lot of times we're so used to our intuition and we're so used to our clairs that it's not that we're not communicating with spirit or we're not using mediumship. It's that we're just not aware of it, because it's so natural for us. You would be surprised if you really truly realized how often you are communicating with spirit. I really believe that. Start keeping a journal. Start keeping track of, little images, little voices, little songs, little premonitions, anything that you feel like might be significant. Start keeping track of it and go back and read it, maybe once a month, and see what actually came true, or see what actually meant something. And you really will be surprised. That's why practice circles are so beneficial, because it actually gives you a chance to see how spirit communicates with you. I can teach on it all day long, but until you actually put forth effort and you put forth practice, it's really hard for you to see what works for you. So, like in a practice circle, there's no pressure. It's completely safe. Everyone's learning. So it's a learning experience for everybody. And you don't have to, you don't have to feel insecure, because I know that it gets really scary to put yourself out there and to say what you see, what you feel, what you know, whenever you've never really done anything like that before. It takes being very brave, and it takes being very vulnerable, but doing it in a practice setting does take, it does take the edge off, because everybody's practicing, right? So what I like to tell people is think of what you think that your clairs are. And if you don't know what your clairs are, don't worry about it, because I'm doing episodes on that. So hopefully that'll help you figure it out. But, think about what your clairs are. If you're clairvoyant, you're going to see spirit. If you're clairaudient, you're going to hear spirit. And use those to your advantage when you're trying to pick up information. What signs, what symbols, what pictures, what colors are you seeing? What outlines, what shapes? And sometimes it's gonna be quick. So you might have to be very focused to pick up some of these images, especially if they're coming through quickly. If you're not seeing things, if you're not really seeing a whole lot, okay, well, what are you feeling? What are you feeling in your body? What does it feel like? Are you feeling things physically? Does your leg hurt, but you know that for some reason your leg shouldn't be in pain? Do you have butterflies? Do you have shivers? You can even interpret certain feelings into emotion. Are you feeling love? Are you feeling fear? Are you feeling sadness? And so it really just takes time and practice to kind of get used to how spirit communicates with you, how your intuition comes through. And it's always going to come through one of these senses, through one of these clairs. And most of us have access to all of the clairs. Most of us use all of the clairs all the time. And most of the time, we even use them together. A lot of times I'll get a feeling and I'll interpret that feeling, but then my claircognizance, which is clear knowing, will come in and interpret what that feeling means for me. So, you wouldn't know that if you never tried. You wouldn't know that was your clairaudience if you didn't practice with someone. If you didn't practice and say, oh my gosh, I thought that was my own voice in my own head. But it really wasn't. It really was spirit. Spirit's the one that told me to say, I saw a brown house with green shutters. Practice makes a world of difference, because it really truly gives you so much validation. And I have a whole episode on practice circles, so feel free to go check that out. Like I said, I am also working on episodes for the clairs. There's already one episode out, and I'm going to keep going through them until I cover all the clairs. But the main thing for this episode is just to remind you that you are spirit. You're spirit. No one can take that away from you. Don't listen to anyone that's trying to tell you that you aren't a medium or that you can't be a medium. Of course, you should practice, and you should definitely be mindful of your skill level and what you're able to tell people. Always respect people's boundaries. Never do readings without consent. I don't want to go into the ethics of mediumship. I do talk a little bit about the ethics of mediumship in my episode with Stouffer. It's it's like I don't remember the exact name of it. It's about claircognizance. So, if you're more curious about ethics of mediumship, you can go check that out now. I might cover it again in the future. But I just want you to know, and for you to understand, that no one can take your spiritual gifts away from you. They are your right, and you have them. You just may need some development. You may need to boost your confidence. You may need some practice. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all need practice. I am a medium and I do charge for readings, and I still like to practice because I know that the more I practice, the better I get. We could always get better. We can always improve. So, I just want to leave you here with that. If you're interested in getting a reading with me, you can book those on my website. I do mediumship and psychic readings. I also have channeled coaching, which is my favorite thing that I offer. It's a chance for us to really talk about this kind of stuff. Like, what are you struggling with? What do you think your clairs are? Or we can work on them together and I can help you figure out what your clairs are. Channeled coaching is all about what you need the most help with. Whatever that looks like, whether it's your own spiritual development, mediumship development, life, what you've got going on, connecting to your spirit guides, connecting to yourself, getting rid of limiting beliefs. Everything is customized based on what you and your soul needs. So check that out if you're interested. And if you're looking for a practice circle, make sure you join the wait list for my community. I plan to launch it in the spring, and you can get that information on my website as well under the community tab. We're going to have monthly practice circles, and they're going to be amazing. If you're local, you can always find me at Sky Apothecary. We do monthly circles there as well. And I will see you guys on the next one. Wait, before you go, I want to share how you can receive a free reading with me. Listeners of the podcast, if you go and leave me a review on Apple and then send me that review to chasingspirituality.com, you can get a chance to win a free reading of your choice. This can be psychic or mediumship. Once a month, I will choose one of the listeners to receive the reading. And I won't pull your name out of the drawing until you're chosen. This will help the podcast grow, but will also allow me to give back to my listeners. Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone you love. And it would mean so much to me if you could rate, review, and subscribe so that the podcast can reach and assist more people. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love.